Welcome to the Spiritual and Empowerment Living with Tia podcast, a sacred place and resource for spiritually centered women who want to go from the mundane to the magical life, for overcoming fear and doubt, reconnecting with the goddess, understanding messages from spirit, and uncovering your spiritual gifts so you can finally live the life you deserve. Hello, Spiritual Trailblazer, and welcome back to another episode. This episode has been a long time coming. I know I talked many times about how we can work with goddesses and other divine beings, but I never dedicated a full episode on that topic. So let's get into it. But before we dive into that, I want to remind you that there is still time to join the Unlock Your Magic Summit, the 3-day online summit. I'm going to say virtual, but if it's online, it is virtual. Summit for goddesses, spellcasters, witches, spiritually inclined alike. And these 3 days are really here to fully support you in multiple areas. So day one, we're focusing on practical magic, which involves establishing daily witchy practices, helping you with your life purpose, and so much more. There's also going to be day two, where we talk about unlocking your magic. So we have talking about the feminine archetype. Okay, there's going to be protection magic talk. And then day 3, we're going to talk about menstrual divination and so much more. So that's just a little sneak peek of what's going down. But I encourage you to go to tiamariejohnson.com/unlock your magic summit. The link will be in the description of this episode. It's totally free. So please sign up so you can connect with these wonderful goddesses. These speakers are amazing. Okay, this is a sisterhood that you are becoming part of. It's not just a summit that you attend, you get some information and leave, and maybe you go over the material. This is the pathway to leaving all the negativity, anything that's obsolete behind. Like, now is the time where we are stepping into our zone, our truth, our talents, okay, are being displayed. Everything is going to start working in our favor even more. And a way we can do this is to take in as much knowledge as possible, apply it to our lives, and get involved with the support system. And that's what the Unlock Your Magic Summit will do, and so much more. All right, so that's my piece about that. I personally asked the ladies to speak, and it's just something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. So I can't wait for the 29th in a couple of days. Tomorrow, sorry, when I'm recording this, it's earlier in the week. Tomorrow. All right, so how to work with goddesses and other divine beings. You know, it's so interesting because I'm sipping my iced latte here. The window is open, getting some cool breezes. I got the laundry going. It's like things are aligned. And it took a while for me to get to this space where I just feel so much more complete. Like, it's that complete feeling, and then it's that next level of feeling whole, unfuckwiffable. You know, like, people, it's like no one can disrupt this groove. You know, it's a whole nother level. And working with goddesses and other divine beings really helped get me to this space where I'm in my own lane and I have blinders on. You know, it's not saying that I don't get inspired by other people, but I really used to think that I had to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that from what this person did and what that person did, and try to make it apply, as opposed to looking at what someone did and thinking from the beginning, but does it apply to me? Could I tweak something of that because that was really cool, that inspired me, but does it apply? And if it doesn't apply, then leave it alone. It doesn't apply to my business. It's just a personal thing, right? So working with goddesses will help us to determine that. So many times when I speak with people, uh, they have a hard time discerning if it's their intuition, if it's some societal programming that's negative, obsolete, or if it's just them, just like, just something on the side. So this is what we're going to do. I have several steps to help you work with goddesses and other divine beings. And in this process, you'll see how getting to know yourself more will help you to understand when a goddess is connecting with you, when an ascended master is connecting with you, when a thought comes up that's really not your own because it's just some programming that you have to unlearn. All right. So, first is some of these goddesses and other divine beings will appear to you. So, you don't even have to go searching for them, but they appear to you under certain circumstances, such as if you've been diving into spirituality. You don't have to necessarily read about goddesses. You can be reading about numerology. You could be reading about zodiac signs. Why? Because it's connected on so many levels. So if you are someone who's studying spirit animals, right? And you are on the part where you're studying dogs as spirit animals, and I'm making this up as an example, you may see some goddess statues who where they had that connection with the dog, right? Or you may see God statues, that have that association with a dog. So you might see Hecate, for example, statue. Even if you don't know that it's Hecate, you might see this weird looking statue, like, what's that? It reminds me when I was a teenager, I was with my mom at this store that sold all different types of painting, artwork. And I never forget this one piece of artwork just stood out to me. And it was women, like different faces of women lined up, like in Avatar, the cartoon where it shows, the line of avatars are all standing side by side, but you can see their faces. It was like that. They were lined up, several women, but they all looked slightly different. But it was so magical looking. It was like a cross between Lisa Frank with all the vivid colors and something out of like a fantasy novel. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this is so, like, I could not stop staring at it. And I later learned that because it was aspects of goddesses. And this was years before I started diving into learning about goddesses. Because I started off working with angels, Reiki, like different healing practices, dreams. I did not start off working with goddesses, let alone working and calling myself a witch. So they will appear as like a, hey, we see your, hey, just a couple more months or a year or something like that, and we'll be your teacher. We just dropped in to say hello. We're looking forward to working with you. We're looking forward to you being our student. So they can appear to you in your dreams. I have goddesses and gods appear to me in my dreams, and I had to literally write down what I saw so I remember it. And sometimes I would go into a store and I'm like, that's what I saw in my dream. Who is that? And that's what happened. It was Krishna appeared to me in my dream. I didn't know. I just saw this blue figure, just whacking me with something. And I was in the sky, like flying. It was crazy. It was like, boop, knocked me back into reality. And I had went to a metaphysical store maybe like a day or two afterwards. And again, it's like I almost jumped out my seat. I was like, who is that? And I bought it. This little statue. It's like, oh my gosh. So anyway, what I'm saying is goddesses and other divine beings can appear to you in your dreams. or in daytime symbols. Okay, so again, this is why no one can tell me otherwise about spirituality. I had this vision of this God that I knew next to nothing about. Okay, let alone even maybe if I did see a picture of him, it wasn't committed to memory because I didn't even know who he was. Okay, so same thing. I had another dream about Mother Mary and in a way I've never seen her before. And then I go to Burlington Coal Factory. Back then when it was called Burlington Coal Factory, it's called Burlington now. And I see on display as I'm coming up the elevator, can't even make this up, the statues all lined up looking like how I saw her in my dream. And I went to Catholic school, okay, for years. And I've never seen Mother Mary with the red and gold crown the way I did in my dream. Like, in my dream, I was at an art museum and she was in this big, big picture. And then it moved and her hand extended out to me with her crown. She was giving me her crown. I was like, whoa. And I woke up. It was like a slight smirk on her face too. And I woke up like, wow, that was deep. I've never seen that before. Like I seen Mother Mary in blonde hair, brunette, black hair, all these different versions of Mary I have seen over the years, but never like that. And then to go to a store with my brother to get something completely different. I think we were just going through there to go to GameStop to go get some video games. And I'm like, whoa. So they will appear to you. You just got to keep doing the work. So that's one way. Doing the work, reading up on spirituality. Another condition would be if something is heightened, like pending, like something really needs to get done. So maybe something happened in your life where you're going through a bad breakup. You're like, screw this, I'm going to get a new job. Something that's changing in your life or something that needs change, they will appear too. And then there's always if you're in real danger, you might hear your name get yelled and you turn around or something like that. So the next point is you seek them out. So when I started to learn more about goddesses, I started to read a lot about them, like as much as I could. And don't get overwhelmed with this process because, I mean, there are just tons of civilizations, tons of pantheons of gods and goddesses and everything in between. So don't allow yourself to become overwhelmed thinking, oh my God, I didn't know this goddess, or oh my God, I didn't know that about this goddess. There are just so many texts out there. Some aren't even public, so it's just take a breather and consume as much knowledge as you can. Okay, so if you were following me on Instagram, you saw that I have tons of books, more books than clothes. When I was packing, it's crazy, guys. And I'm still trying to find the right bookcase. My bookcase did not make it in the moving process. Yes, rest in peace to that bookcase. So I need a new one. But I needed a new one anyway. So that was just confirmation that don't try to make this bookcase fake. Get a new one, a bigger one, because you need it and you want it. But anyway, read as much as you can. That's one thing I miss about Borders. I used to go to Borders, sit there. Used to be this big window. They used to so this where Borders used to be in Philly used to be these big windows, and it was on Broad Street, which is a major street, and it had a big window ledge, like because the vents were there. So I would just sit down on the vent on the side, and then there was a ledge too. Sorry, it wasn't all vents; it was actually a window ledge, and I would just sit there because it was big enough. It was like a bay window, and I would just read some of the books, and I would just take, I would I would purchase the books and that were really piquing my interest because I was reading so much at one point that the material was just overlapping, and it was really a difference of a chapter or two in a book. So I was like, I'm not going to buy this entire book for a chapter. I did that in college because I had to. You know what I'm talking about? Those who went to college. Oh, here's the next edition. Oh, what's new? A chapter. Oh, and by the way, it's $234.15. So yeah, that's one thing I miss. So read as much as you can. And the thing is now blogs are a big thing now. When I was a young adult, and definitely when I was a teenager and child, blogs were not a thing. Like, yeah, you had your website and maybe you wrote, a little bit about something, but it wasn't a blog. So now there's more ways than ever to consume knowledge. And I want to just also put a little side note in there to make sure, because this is actually the last point, but I'm just going to make this point here and combine it. Make sure you are following someone who's ethical. Make sure you're following someone who encourages you to keep doing the readings, keep up with current events and things like that, because when you are reading and looking to figure out how you can work with these beings, the last thing you want is for someone to tell you that you have to work in this way or it's not going to work at all. And listen to me, because I know how to do this, because I'm third generational witch, and I do all this extra stuff, and I know, and you get what I'm saying? No, again, disrespect if you're a third generational witch. But like my grandmother was a witch, so even though she doesn't, she wouldn't say that out loud, because that's not, that's probably not the title she would say, not because of its taboo nature, but because of her experiences. But definitely she was able to interpret dreams, and she definitely knew things and experienced certain things for sure. Um, but anyway, you want to be able to follow someone who is encouraging you, putting you in power to be in control of yourself and allow you to make your decisions. They'll guide you, but they're not going to make decisions for you. They're not going to tell you how to think. Okay. And I've mentioned this many a times. You're not going to get all your information from here, but you're going to get a lot of information from here. Right. And that's the healthy approach, because we're always learning. Okay. I would not be doing anyone any service if I said to follow me and, trust me, because this way is the way you should be doing it. And there are so many ways to do things. It's ridiculous. I mean, really. So, and as you are seeking out which goddess to work with or which divine beings you want to work with, just know that when you're reading these authors' material, these bloggers' material, and so forth, do a little bit of homework on them. Okay, there are a lot of people out here who want to jump on, the bandwagon and lead people astray and do the cookie cutter spirituality, that very surface level, spirituality. That's where they want to stay and manipulate people. Okay, so do a little bit homework on them. Okay, look at what they're talking about. Do they take stances on anything? Okay, because that's what the goddesses do. They take stances on things. They are not shy and timid and surface level and cookie cutter. And there's nothing wrong with being shy, right? But what I'm saying is people take that aspect of someone and exploit it. And I'm here to tell you that these goddesses and divine beings, they are here to do work. Yes, there are times where we have fun and things like that, but they're not surface level beings. These are beings that have been around for ages. Okay. And they want to help. All right. So just keep that in mind when you are purchasing your books and going to people's websites and things like that. Okay. Because there's a lot of great information out there. And we do have to depend on people to give us that information. Like you're coming on to this podcast to listen to information. I purchase books from people to get their information, so we rely on each other for information, but we just got to make sure that the person giving it is someone who has not even just good intentions, because good intentions can go wrong if you're not putting that other person in mind when you're doing something, but they have a fair and reasonable heart. Okay. They understand. All right. So that's on that. Now, 3 is you got to treat it like a relationship that you care about. Okay. Now, I always see, or I don't want to say always, but I see this meme on Instagram often that states something that it's like my ancestors' face when I haven't changed my altar water, but I'm asking for assistance, something like that, right? And here's the thing: you don't have to have an altar, okay? It's nice. Like that's one thing I can't wait when I get settled in my new places, when I can like pick out cool altars, because I like that. I'm a visual person. So I have all these ideas to appeal to the senses when people come in to my place. So I'm very excited for that. But that's just like an added bonus. You don't have to have an altar. Okay. But what you do need to do is keep in touch regularly. So think about, either if you don't have that really good best friend relationship, think about what you would want your best friend relationship to look like. Okay, because that's the effort you're going to put in when you're connecting with these goddesses and other divine beings. And when I say other divine beings, I mean ascended masters, I mean fae, I mean mermaids, I mean leprechauns, I mean Selkie, I mean star seeds, like the list goes on and on and on. Your ancestors, your higher self, so many beings, okay, that you will come across as you go further in your journey. It doesn't mean you're going to connect with them, all of them, but you're going to learn a lot from them, and you may um, they may give you a piece of knowledge and move on. Even spirit animals and things like that. So the other divine beings is a long list. Okay. Um, but yeah, you need to treat it like a relationship that you care about. So, for example, me and my best friend, I would message her, "Hey, hope you have a great day today." Um, we talk regularly. I don't know why I just had that pause. I'm like, what else do we do? Because you know what it is, when something is just so natural and it works, and then you got to explain it, it's like, wait a minute, it just flows. Like, how do I explain this? It just flows. Um, you are vulnerable, right? So when you are talking with these goddesses, whether it's verbally like this or you're just thinking it, um, you're candid, you're real. You're going to explain your thoughts and your feelings, like, I feel like this and I don't know why. And then you may hear something like, you don't have to worry, this is not a real issue. And you might think, what the heck, this is a real issue. But when you take a few steps back, it's a real issue on this physical, mental level that you will address, but spiritually speaking, you will overcome it. You just got to get through it and take whatever lessons you need to take, because that's going to thicken your skin. And you might be thinking, I don't need my skin thickened anymore. I used to be like that too. I used to think, what else do I need to freaking learn? For real? And I'm not talking about extreme stuff. Like sometimes unfortunate, horrible, bad things happen in life. Now, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, for example, the bookcase breaks down. Maybe the internet's down. Maybe you get delayed somewhere. You know, something happens. It's like, oh, I know I put that somewhere. I can't find it. What's going on? You know, it seems like an inconvenience, or something happens. You get set back. You know, you got to take 2 steps back. But there's something in that space that happens, or you've done so much work, and now you're like, now what? And now you're in this kind of like waiting phase while stuff is on its way. You know it's coming. You know, it's like when we order, I use myself as an example, furniture. Oh yeah, it'll be there 3 to 4 weeks. Why can't it be here this week? You know, it's like, you know it's coming. You put the order in, is exactly what you want. And then I tell you, I got like some extra stuff too. So it's crazy when you think about it. But again, you have to be open and honest. Every time I'm direct in what I want, it happens so much faster than when I'm indecisive, like, oh well, I could go for that. And it's like, okay, you want to make a decision, then something kind of sort of happens, right? So you want to be open and candid and vulnerable. I mean, who are they going to tell, right? It's like your doctor. You go to the doctor's office, you know, to see your doctor, and then you don't even tell them all your symptoms or tell her all your symptoms, right? So how can they possibly help you? They don't know everything that's going on with you. They can't tell anyone about what you do. So treat it like a relationship. Be open, honest, vulnerable, communicate often. Okay, even if it's just a check-in, even if it's just you playing music that's, you know, Freya theme, the Hecate Center, you know, Isis tunes, you know, something like that. All right. Or even if it's just a witchy playlist or goddess playlist or Celtic playlist or, you know, African play, you know, all these different sounds and beats for the goddesses that you can get into. Okay. So dance a little bit, hum, you know, really embody that, because that's what you're going to experience. You know, in a relationship, you start to do these things where it's like, oh, okay, cool, this is fun. And the goddesses will be right there with you. And you're going to get notions to do other things and, you know, stuff like that, to dress differently and, you know, buy this and read that. It just starts to be a thing where you just start to know what to do next. Okay, so look at this as a union of sorts. Okay, you are working alongside the goddesses and other divine beings. Yes, they are so much more knowledgeable than us. Yes, yes, yes. But it really is like a working relationship in a way. Okay, so, you know, just make sure that you are doing things that really reflect the relationship you want to have with the goddess. Okay. And it could be, again, as simple as like, I like to walk at nighttime, get that night air, and I just feel the goddess at that time. And it's like that connection. Okay. That's similar to just texting someone, you know, like, hey, thinking of you. Okay. So next one is good versus bad. How will I know? This is the question that pops up so many times when I work with people is, you know, I don't want to work with like a bad evil entity or something like that. Okay, movies aside, uh, a reason why people come across those type of entities is because those entities can sense low energy fields, meaning your boundaries are basically non-existent, meaning that your self-esteem is non-existent, basically, meaning that you feel helpless and hopeless and you don't know, it's like that despair feeling. It's so much easier to trick someone when they're not of sound mind. Think about it. We are told not to sign any documents when we're under the influence, whether that's medication, right, that causes drowsiness, or medication after surgery, pain medication, right? If we're drunk, anything that's altering our state of mind, we're told don't sign any contracts, don't agree to anything. You're not of sound mind. Why? Because we're not fully informed at that time. We literally can't process that information. And someone could take advantage of us because we're not knowing in that sense. We're not fully there. And that's what it is, right? The more you study spirituality, the more you become stronger, whether it's you working out physically if you can, or working out your mental strength, which can include doing crossword puzzle, which includes reading, which includes meditating, which includes, saying affirmation, doing all these things that really just beef up your energy level, your boundary level, your self-esteem level, your confidence level. I'm not saying your confidence has to be on 1,000%, but if your confidence level is at 15%, at 5%, at 1%, people are more likely able to take advantage of you. And that's what happens. We see this even in actual physical relationships, right? It doesn't have to be on a spiritual plane. Physical relationships, a guy or a girl, whomever, sometimes they pick people who are timid. They pick people who don't want to get in a confrontation. That they're on that extreme end of I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. They don't speak up often, and it's not necessarily that person's fault. Sometimes it's social programming, and it's unfortunate. Until that person snaps, and then they're in the wrong, but no one questions why or how they even got to that point, right? So keep in mind that the goddesses and other divine beings, the good ones, they're not going to ask you or nudge you, encourage you to do anything that's harmful or bad. They're not. Yes, there are many different goddesses for a wide range of things, from healing to plant work to sex to fertility, all these things, wisdom, magic, all these things. But one thing they're not going to do is have you harm yourself. They're not going to encourage you to do something bad. They're not going to encourage you to do something that's really going to be harmful. They're not. That's not part of the mission. And that's not to confuse that with self-defense, okay? Some people, for some reason, they take certain things and they warp it into something else. And that's not it. Self-defense is just that. Someone is trying to harm you and now you're in defense mode. That's different. Okay? So yeah, remember, they will never tell you to do anything that is harmful. And as long as you are focusing, and again, don't get overwhelmed like, oh my gosh, I didn't like the candle today. What's going to happen? Nothing. That's not how it works. It's just about repetition, right? If you go to the gym 3 times a week, 2 times a week, that's better than not going, but also not going and not doing any form of exercise when you could, right? So it's just about adding on to what you're doing, right? So if you work out more, you're going to get more tone. You become stronger. So that's where I'm going with that, is having a spiritual practice where you do certain things throughout the week will help to rev up your boundaries. That's why I'm so adamant about boundaries and confidence. The more you work on that, the less chance of a negative energy coming your way. And the better you are if you do come across something like that, like maybe someone has an evil intent. You now have the nerve, the guts, the gall to be like, no, get out of here, as opposed to like, no, it's like, no, get out. All right, next, can I do it wrong? No. The immediate answer is no. The extended answer is you could have a few hiccups, but it's not the end of the world. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is, could you mispronounce a name? Yes. Could you use a crystal that was okay? Could you use a better crystal? Yes. You were speaking a spell, but you stumbled over the words. Will it work? Yes. Why? Because we are the magic. It's our intent. Okay. Yes, of course, we can mess up from time to time. Like I said, fumble over a word. Maybe we don't have the color we wanted because we washed our clothes and I don't know, the stain wouldn't come out. We don't have something that we really wanted to do this spell, or we wanted to connect with a certain goddess. We couldn't find a flower, or I found out that actually this was the wrong flower, and but as long as you are doing your research and learning, you really can't mess up so gravely that you can't come back. Because the thing is, some of these goddesses, their names are from a different language. And if that's not your first language, you may have some issues with it. I have issues sometimes pronouncing certain things. Some things look like they're pronounced a certain way, but they're not, like Samhain. As an American who speaks English as her first language, I would never have guessed. that's how you spell Samhain, right? Because it looks like it's pronounced completely different. All right. And so what I'm saying here is, and this is the time where the good intentions matter. Because I said earlier, good intentions, when you don't have that other person in mind, it doesn't work. Because when you are in a relationship, you have to have that other person in mind. It's not what you want or what you think they should receive or whatever. It's what do they like? What do they love? Okay. So in this case, the good intention is, okay, she doesn't know how to pronounce her name. She thought that's how it looked, but she's going to do more research and she's going to learn that this is actually how it's pronounced. Whatever. Okay. Because as a student, you want to get it right. And there's no sense in punishing someone who's learning. All right. And then when you know better, you do better. That's it. But yeah, this is not a time to get caught up on, oh, I don't have this color robe and this, and I don't know, and I only have, my mind to do, like, yeah, don't worry about that. And the final point here is you will outgrow. And I mean this in not a bad way, but some goddesses you work with, some other divine beings you'll work with for a little while, and then you move on. I don't work with the angels, the archangels, as much as I used to, and that's okay. I still communicate with them from time to time, but sometimes that's how it is. Just like with our actual friendship, sometimes we're with people for 5 years, and then sudden the friendship dissolves. And then other times it doesn't dissolve. Maybe they just move, or you had a kid, and so you don't spend as much time together as you used to, but the friendship is still there. So it's like that. All right. So when you're working with these, to wrap up, goddesses and other divine beings, the best thing you can really do is research. It's just read as much as you can, learn as much as you can about them. So when you are out and about and you notice a dog, or you see a certain color a lot, or some other symbol, it's her. It's that divine being. You just know. It's a little nudge. It's a head nod. It's a quick text to let you know you're safe, secure, whatever's on your mind, that prayer's being answered, whatever the case may be, you'll know. Okay? You can't go wrong with knowledge, research, cross-referencing. All right. I hope that was helpful for you. I really just wanted to break that down and explain that the more you work with these beings and treat it like a relationship you care about, the more things will work in your favor. You'll attract things faster. Okay. And this doesn't mean that you're rushing life. Okay. It just means that you're cutting down the learning curve, still learning, but it's not going to take you as long to learn something. Think about it as, instead of dating 5 guys, you date 2 or you date 1, because you don't have to learn, you don't have to learn this from Bobby and this from Derek and this from Trevor, right? You just skip right on to Michael. You don't have to learn these lessons because you're doing the work now with yourself and goddesses and other divine beings. So you see what I'm saying? So now you can spend more time with Michael. All right, Spiritual Trailblazer. Don't forget, register for the Unlock Your Magic Summit. I have more surprises coming for you within these next couple of episodes. So make sure you stay tuned. Share with a friend. I love you. Sending you so many blessings. Remember to be kind to yourself. Until next time. As always, Spiritual Trailblazer, thank you for tuning in. Do make sure to stop by and visit me at tiamariejohnson.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Last but not least, be kind to yourself. I'm rooting for you, and I'm sending you so many blessings. Until next time.